I'm Aaron Hickman.
I'm Spencer Schultz.
And I'm Logan Shanks.
It's Brocktober, baby. You're tuned into Cyclone InCYders. We'll start off with some Iowa State soccer. Last week they lost 2-0 to Texas. Once again, no offense to show. They were outshot 18-5, and Jordan Silkowitz had 8 saves. Just going all the way back to last season, really sounding like a broken record at this point with this team. Spencer, what do you think Iowa State can do to turn things around?
Really, they just need to create more set pieces. The lack of corners, free kicks, and penalties all season has kind of made it hard for them to create chances.
Yeah, and at this point, you're already in the middle of the season, so there's not really much that you can switch up. I really think that just give the seniors a set off to their senior season and then just try and work in the younger players and see what you can do for the start of next season.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate that for a year, 2 seasons now, and a year, they haven't been able to really get any offense going. Jordan Silkowitz has really saved this team so many times. Who knows where they would be without her? So yeah, they just really need to get that offense going is the main thing. But they can get back on track. They face Texas Tech. It doesn't really matter how good the opponent anymore is. Iowa State really just needs to look better. Logan, what should the mindset and game plan be for Texas Tech?
I think they just need to go out there and play like they got nothing to lose, and get some momentum going into next season, and get the younger players out there, and just see what you can do with the rest of the games that you have left.
To kind of echo what Logan said, they need to come out aggressive. Obviously, you have a goalkeeper that will keep you in nearly any game. So really just be aggressive with the opportunities that you create.
Yeah, there's been a lot of games this year where, Iowa State hasn't been able to score more than 2 goals, but they've been able to win scoring 1 and 2 goals multiple times. So really, if they can just get that goal early, I don't want to say park the bus, but they can rely on their defense to get wins. They just got to get out ahead instead of trying to come back, because this isn't a team that has an offense built for coming back. But moving on to volleyball, they're currently on a bye week, sitting at 12-5 overall, and they're 4-2 in the Big 12. Spencer, what should the focus be for this team during the bye?
Just working on better serves. As of late, they've been serving balls, just to kind of make sure there's no errors, and just kind of been serving them just to get them in play, which has kind of made it easy for opposing teams to set up their offense.
Yeah, and really in any sport, a bye week is really important to just kind of look at what's worked so far, and especially in conference play, see what has worked against teams like Texas Tech. And, we were put in some tough spots in both games, and I really just think if they're able to regroup and think about what has worked and what they can improve on going into the rest of conference schedule, then they should finish strong.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of areas this team can grow, but I think overall the volleyball team has been pretty impressive this year, and they're about where you would expect them to be in the Big 12, but it's just continuing to build on those things like serving, getting their offense going a little bit earlier, trying to establish more runs. But overall, it's been a pretty good season for the volleyball team so far. Up next is Texas, and they're currently first in the conference. Iowa State was second last week, but they're now third. But this could be a really big game that could potentially bump them up to first. Logan, what do the Cyclones need to do to beat the best in the Big 12?
I really just think take advantage of what spots were put in. In the Texas Tech matches, we were, put into some tough positions in each set, and really if we're able to just hold our leads, it almost seemed like we were getting lucky with some of the leads and not really extending them. So if we can hold on to those and win more sets, then just kind of getting lucky at the end.
Yeah, I would say just kind of focus on getting Eleanor Holthouse back on track by getting her touches early in matches. Kind of struggled a little bit on the road in those Texas Tech matches. Also against Texas, being at home is huge. Ride that home crowd. A split is obviously needed at minimum, but a sweep could kind of swing the momentum for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and one really tough part of that Texas Tech weekend was Kenna Sauer, who is a very dominant hitter. I don't know if Iowa State's really going to see a hitter quite like her again this year. So part of it was just the difficulty of dealing with her. But like you said, getting Holthouse going, we know what Candelaria Herrera can do. She leads the Big 12 in blocks. Just got to start working on those little things. And Iowa State honestly does have the potential to be right up there with Texas and Baylor and make a pretty good run in the NCAA tournament. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on to men's basketball, the only news with that, unfortunately, is Xavier Foster being dismissed from the program. He's being investigated for sexual assault currently, and he has entered the transfer portal. Spencer, what are just your overall thoughts on kind of the wasted potential of Xavier Foster in that whole situation?
I would just say completely, saddened by the whole situation for the woman especially. And all else I guess is doesn't deserve to play for another team in his life. I guess I would hope no team would pick him up in the transfer portal.
Yeah, appreciate that you mentioned. We just really have to keep the victim in our thoughts. Throughout all this, in cases like this, we kind of have to take out the athlete's name, and that really just doesn't matter. What like you were saying, Aaron, waste of potential, and going off what you said, Spencer. I really hope that no team is gonna pick him up, because I really just think he doesn't deserve to play basketball anywhere else.
Yeah, and Coach Otzelberger did mention that it wasn't just this one thing that led to it. It was a buildup of things over time, and don't really want to give into gossip, but there's been a lot of things that have been said about Xavier Foster during his time in Ames, and it's unfortunate that kind of stupid mistakes turn into actual criminal activity. And like you said, we just have to allow the victim some peace and quiet for a little bit. Honestly, they'll probably come forward and tell their story when they're ready, but for now, Xavier Foster really should just be ashamed of how he has wasted really a great opportunity here at Iowa State, especially being from the state of Iowa, not only representing Iowa State poorly, but also the state of Iowa poorly. So once again, just an unfortunate situation all around. But something that we can get a little bit more excited about, football, coming off a bye week this week. They blew out Kansas right before the bye week, which was kind of expected. Logan, what should the team have been focusing on improving during this bye week?
Just getting our offense back into what it was last season, and of course our special teams. We really benefited off of our defense giving us a really good position offensively. It's how Brock Purdy was able to get 4 pass touchdowns in the first quarter. But I think we really just need to be able to score on. Hopefully, we worked on scoring on longer drives, not just worrying about the defense giving us a good field position every drive.
Yeah, and to echo what you just said as well, just continue working on improving the special teams. Obviously, we know it's cost Iowa State several games over the years, and just not shooting yourselves in the foot. Kind of looked better against Kansas, but obviously Kansas is not that quality of an opponent.
Yeah, I'd say really the main thing for me is special teams, just because of the amount of games it's lost, not only this year, but for several years now. Iowa State was ranked last in the country in special teams. They might be second or third worst now, but still very, very bad. And they also have been terrible with the field positioning game. Their opponents have had an average of, I think it's 15 or 16 yards better than them, average field positioning. And you're not going to win very many games like that when you're facing, Kansas and UNLV games like that, whatever. But, Iowa, Baylor, games like that, you're just not going to win those. So that's something that really I want to see get better from this team, because if the special teams had been even competent so far this year, Iowa State could very well be undefeated. So they're facing K-State Saturday night. Farmageddon in Manhattan. Iowa State won 45-0 last year, but Kansas State has won 12 of the last 15. Spencer, does this rivalry really mean that much to the fans, or is it overhyped just because we're kind of both farming states?
So I don't think it's necessarily a huge rivalry between the fans, but I think there is some sort of on-field rivalry between the two teams. I know Kansas State, as you just said, has won 12 of the last 15, but a lot of those games have been really close games. Iowa State has shot themselves in the foot a lot over the years against them. I know last year was a blowout, but I'd say overall it's an on-field competition.
Yeah, and going off what you were saying, Spencer, I think fans are a little bit too worried about this game in particular compared to what we have coming up. And, I think this overall will be a good game, and this will hopefully be a game that we can prove ourselves and live up to the preseason expectations that we had.
Yeah, I do want to know, even though Kansas State has won 12 of the last 15, Iowa State has won 2 of the last 3, and there was that 45-0 win last year, but you can't really just expect that this year, especially with the way Iowa State has played so far. And just kind of going off of that, Iowa State has yet to have a W against a solid team so far this year. Kansas State so far appears to be a pretty solid squad. They usually are. Logan, how important is this game to set the tone for the rest of the season?
I think this game is very important for the rest of our Big 12 schedule. And I was actually talking about this with someone today, is that we should see the first 5 games as a chapter in our 2021 season that we can just get over with. We had some ups and downs. a loss to Iowa, a big win against UNLV, and then a loss to Baylor on the road, and kind of redeeming ourselves at the end with Kansas. But now I really just think that we need to get past that and move on to what is the most important games, Big 12 conference-wise.
Yeah, and I felt like I already said this against Baylor, but I feel like this is a game where we really find out what this team is made of. I think this is really the turning point in the season where, you can look at things and say, can you still make a run for the Big 12 title game if we win? Or if we lose, maybe we'll have to fight for bowl eligibility the rest of the season.
Yeah, and just, looking ahead to the game after Kansas State, Oklahoma State's ranked 12th right now. And if there's some losses in the top 10, they can very likely be a top 10 team in that game. So if Iowa State can get a win against this Kansas State team and then beat Oklahoma State at home, that just will flip a lot of the perception of their season so far. Pretty disappointing start to the season, but there'd be a lot of hope, I think, if they're able to win these next two games. But a key player for the Wildcats, Skylar Thompson, has been someone who's really been able to get the job done against Iowa State his whole career. He was injured last year, which I honestly think played a big part in that 45-0 loss, but ever since his freshman year where he had that last-second touchdown, he's really just been a thorn in the side of the Cyclones. Spencer, what do you think Iowa State needs to do to slow him down?
I think limit his rushing ability. He's a really good dual-threat quarterback. Certainly easier said than done, especially with Deuce Vaughn back there at running back, one of the better backs in the Big 12 and the whole country. So between Deuce Vaughn and that RPO that they have, it'll be difficult, but I think just overall make him throw the ball.
Yeah, and that's really what I had to, Spencer, is make him throw the ball, watch out for that running back duo. Hopefully our linebackers, Jake Hummel, Mike Rose, force them to throw the ball, watch out for that deep ball, of course. Their receivers are, some of the best in the Big 12 as well, but also just that running back duo is what has been able to win them games. So just make sure you can throw the ball.
Yeah, I think kind of like little bits of what both you guys said. It's really important to keep Skylar Thompson in the pocket and create pressure in the pocket. Don't allow him to get outside because he's very good throwing on the run and also just scrambling. So don't let him keep plays alive and force your secondary to cover for too long. And I fully expect someone like Mike Rose or maybe another linebacker to just kind of be a spy since Iowa State uses a three-man rush pretty often. So, and then, just establishing Breece Hall pretty early, maybe get some play action going against K-State because Kansas State has always been a team that really doesn't commit a lot of penalties and doesn't mess up very often. Going all the way back with Bill Snyder, just has been able to build a very solid squad, which I think he's someone who Matt Campbell has really tried to follow in his footsteps. So Iowa State's going to have to do a good job of something they haven't done so far this year, which is just winning in the margins, and hopefully they can kind of start to do that this game. But we've got a new game for you guys. It's called 3-Word Summaries. We're going to just say a recent topic in the sports media and write our 3-word summary on these whiteboards, show them to you, and each one of us are going to take turns kind of explaining our 3-word summary for the topic. So our first one is John Gruden's emails, the now former head coach of the Oakland Raiders who had to resign because some sketchy emails came out. So for mine, I've got triumph to tragedy. The Oakland Raiders were riding pretty high this year, and then, came out that John Gruden, unfortunately, is not a very good person behind closed doors.
Prepare for retirement. He's not going to find another job in his life, I'd hope.
And Adam Schefter, when he first reported this on Monday Night Football, which I think is when all of us kind of found out about this, he described it as a clean sweep. I really just think overall he offended everyone, and it was just terrible overall.
So moving on, we've got Urban Meyer's time in Jacksonville, the former Ohio State Buckeyes head coach who got a pretty lucrative deal from the Jaguars that I would expect that they are not fans of now. So if you've seen what Urban Meyer's been doing, for my 3-word summary, I've got grind, don't stop. He was caught grinding with someone in a club that is not his wife, and the Jaguars broke down practice, 1, 2, 3 grind. They clearly have no respect for this guy as this coach. They never had any respect to begin with.
Yeah, I'm a little too short to be peering over this whiteboard, but just as expected, who couldn't see this coming? the moment they hired Iowa's strength and conditioning coach.
And I had lost the room because I think overall when something like that happens, and like you said, Aaron, with the huddle, I really just think overall he's lost the room in Jacksonville, and I think we're going to see a sort of one-and-done scenario with Urban Meyer.
So our next topic, the team out east win over Penn State, which propelled them to number 2 in the country. I've got not for real. Yes, they beat Iowa State, but if you have watched the Iowa Hawkeyes this year, if you have watched that stinky offense, they are not for real, not the number 2 team in the country. The numbers speak for themselves.
Luckiest team ever. Penn State's quarterback doesn't go down, they lose that game. Their offense is horrible. They're not going to stick number 2.
And just like in the Iowa State game, defense carried the game, and also if the Penn State quarterback doesn't go out, I believe result is very different. But yeah, overall, defense carried that game.
Up next, we've got the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide falling to Texas A&M, which helped the Hawkeyes get up to number 2. For my 3-word summary, I've got sports are weird. Just a week or 2 ago, we all kind of expected Alabama to run away with a national championship like it's looked like many years in the past. Their only competition really looked like Georgia. They go into Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher keeps his promise of beating Nick Saban.
I've got Georgia national champs. You can chalk it on your whiteboards or blackboards at home, whatever. Alabama showed their vulnerabilities.
And I just have a wild game in general, and for anyone that hasn't seen the video of the Texas A&M's kicker, the kicker's family, very heartwarming video, I think. Definitely give that a watch. But overall, just a wild game, and what even is college football at this point?
Up next, we've got Clemson's season so far. Trevor Lawrence is gone. Travis Etienne, gone. Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback for the mess that is Jacksonville, but he's not the focus here. I've got disaster for Dabo. Dabo Swinney has really showed that he is not in the same class as Nick Saban. Nick Saban, no matter what, no matter who goes to the NFL, he's able to put on a winning product on the field every year. Dabo Swinney is kind of getting exposed this season.
Yeah, mine is, to quote the great Lee Corso, not so fast. DJ Ukulele, a bit premature expectations there, thinking he was going to win Heisman and take them to the promised land.
And for mine, I have the Lawrence hangover era. Just like last year with LSU losing Joe Burrow, I think losing your Heisman quarterback and national champion quarterback definitely affects them more than they thought it would.
Up next, we've got USA's win over Costa Rica in World Cup qualification. I've got get healthy, please. Without Pulisic and Gio Reyna, that midfield and some of the wingers are looking pretty suspect. It was huge to go down 1-0 in less than a minute and come back and win with the youngest team in World Cup qualifying history, but the U.S. isn't going to get anywhere in the World Cup if they don't have those guys in the midfield doing some damage.
Yeah, mine is basically the same. Need stars back. They need Reyna and Pulisic back for that next break, especially facing Mexico next.
And I just have get back to work. USA, come back, and being able to beat Costa Rica. Got to get back to work and get yourself further.
All right, that's all we've got today for Cyclone InCYders. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, it's Brocktober. We're out.